We're live.
Okay, awesome. And so with that, welcome everybody to our first SGA Town Hall of the fall semester. Good to have all of you here watching us live or in the future, which is pretty neat if you think about it. I'd like to welcome you all to this very amazing event where we have both students, administrators, and our president, Dr. Schultz, here as well. A quick brief run through on how this event is set up. We'll have a 30-ish minute presentation for the SGA to inform you on the activities of the student body and who we are. And then we'll give time to our administrators to give brief updates or reminders that they'd like to share with the students. And then for the remainder of the time, we will have an open Q&A style session for the students to ask any questions that they have for our panelists here. And so with that, Suzanne, I think we are good to start today's slideshow here. Okay. Yes, so welcome. My name is Diego Martinez. I am the president for the SGA this year as well. And this is our town hall presentation on the SGA, the Student Government Association. And so with that, we can move on to the next slide here. And so a little bit about us as the Student Government Association. The primary reason why we're formed and what we do on campus for our students is to mainly be the advocate for the needs and concerns of the student body. We like to encourage communication and collaboration across the entire college through our 3 in-person campuses, as well as our large online student body population as well, and organize student activities and programs, as well as maintaining our budget of our student funds that are fair, respective, and transparent so that all students know where their money is going to and what causes that might be supporting. And we like to offer leadership and personal growth opportunities for all of our members through sending them to leadership conferences, to chairing their own committees, depending on which positions they hold within the SGA. And so with that, that's a little bit about us here, and we can move on to the next slide. Thank you. And so, yes, I am the president for this year, and I am very honored to serve in this role, as well as help foster the leadership for all of our students and our members that we serve this year. I'm proud to see all the amazing work that we have been able to achieve and create, as well as the goals that we plan on creating for the remainder of the semester here. And so a little bit about the role of the president is that I am mainly responsible for calling our meetings to order for our legislative and executive council meetings. I am responsible for acting as a liaison to the statewide and national student organizations as needed or appointed to a designee. I attend the Board of Trustees meeting and report on the status of student life or any concerns that students express to the SGA. And I meet with the president and vice president of student services of MSJC at least once a semester and keep that line of communication between the students and the administrators as well as the president. And so with that, we can move on to our next role here, which is that of the student trustee. I believe we have Julian Minnie, our student trustee for this year, on the line. Julian, would you like to give a brief introduction about yourself?
Hey, yeah, so I am the student trustee. My role is essentially I sit on the board of directors as the student voice in those meetings. So if anyone has any issues or concerns, then I would present those points in the meetings. And yeah, so I am essentially the student voice for everyone.
Yes, thank you, Julian. And you, I think, have the special honor as well as serving on, I believe it was the Student Trustees Council for the League of California Community Colleges as well, which is a very great honor, one of very few student trustees to serve in that role. And Julian also is a voting member in our SGA legislature and is serving as an alternate entity in the event that the SGA is unable to assist on certain projects or becomes unsatisfactory as well. So there is that dynamic aspect to his role as well. And with that, we can move on to our next slide here, which is for our wonderful vice presidents. We have 3 of them, 1 for each of our campuses, for the Menifee Valley campus, San Jacinto, and Temecula Valley. The responsibilities of our vice presidents is to chair the Inter-Club Council, the ICC, and keep the SGA up to date on events or new clubs that are established throughout our campuses or online. They also are responsible for consulting and checking in with each of our various commissioners, and to report to the SGA and Executive Council on the state of our college clubs and what the students are really asking for in those spaces. And so with that, I believe we have Jose Gonzalez and Ashley Freda on the line as well. Would you guys mind to say hi or give a brief introduction?
Well, if Jose won't go first, I guess I'll volunteer myself to go first. Hi, I'm Ashley Freda. I am the Vice President of the San Jacinto campus. And as stated previously, my job is to represent the San Jacinto campus and also preside over ICC meetings and work as a liaison between the clubs, student government, and also help facilitate and or kind of get communication going between the various student government committees and our lovely president over there.
Thank you, Ashley. And Jose, would you mind saying a few words at the moment, or is your connection still a bit rough at the moment? Okay, so I think we're having some technical difficulties with Jose at the moment, which is a little bit unfortunate. However, this semester, Ashley is also having the honor of serving as a delegate for Mount San Jacinto College on the statewide Senate, the Student Senate for California Community Colleges, where she has the ability later in the year to vote on resolutions that will later affect all of our community colleges and really give these community college leaders an insight into what the legislative process looks like at the statewide level, which is a great honor to have Ashley serving in that capacity. And with that, we can move on to our next slide here, which is our Commissioner of Institutional Effectiveness. And so you can see there's a little 404 error. We currently have no commissioner serving in this role. So it is a vacancy for any MSJC student to apply to, as long as they meet the qualifications, and they can apply for an appointment, which is basically an interview. And that is pretty much it to be considered for the role here. And so the main responsibilities that are responsible for our Commissioner of Institutional Effectiveness is to oversee and ensure that the SGA member compliance of the laws of the Student Government Association, as per our Constitution and bylaws and election code, are actually being met and followed. They oversee jointly with the president, myself, in the development, writing, and submission of resolutions representing the concerns and opinions of the student body for consideration locally or statewide or nationally for the student associations. And they mainly serve in the role of the Chief Justice for the SGA, and that's like their main sort of role in how they approach the SGA. And so if that's something that calls your interest, you can definitely apply for appointment and see what happens. We'd love to have more student leaders join us. And we can go on to the next slide here, which is our senator role for institutional effectiveness. So as you can see on the left-hand side, there's a QR code. If you are a student who is interested in learning more about the SGA or applying, you can simply pull out your phone and scan that QR code real quick, and it should guide you to our website where there's more information available as well. So for institutional effectiveness, we have the role of commissioner vacant as well as the 5 senator roles. And the main responsibilities that come with being a senator in this position is to help achieve the purpose of the institutional effectiveness committee and any additional standing committees that they may be a part of. And so mainly assisting the commissioner here in getting a better idea on what leadership looks like within the SGA and this committee. And so we can go to the next slide here, which is Student Equity and Cultural Affairs, where we have Jamie Cruz, who I believe is on the line. Jamie, would you mind giving a quick hi or a little introduction on yourself here?
Yeah, hello. My name is Jamie Cruz, and I am the Commissioner of Student Equity and Cultural Affairs. And essentially, I want to provide information to students to understanding equity and different cultural, just the differences. And I wanted, like, yeah, my purpose is to create programs for the public expression and the public events and opinion polls and voter registration drives, which I am in the process of doing with other staff at MSJC right now. And I have ideas for advocacy, education, and leadership that I am working on for marginalized students and allies to understand different problems within the communities.
Thank you so much, Jamie. Great job. And so, like she was just saying, the main responsibilities that come with this role is to really understand the community and the needs of our students here, and then vocalizing them, whether that be at the institutional, local, state, or national level, and just finding ways to promote social justice on campus and being that liaison between the SGA and the local legislators, as well as the college leadership. So thank you for all of your work, Jamie. And we can go on to the next slide here, which will be talking about our senators of student equity and cultural affairs. And so this also has 5 vacant positions for any interested student to apply for and work with Jamie on approaching these issues and getting a real good understanding on how to make change at our campus and really understand the voice of our students and try to solve any issues that may be approaching them. And so if that's something you're interested in, I think there was a link in the chat as well that guides you to our SGA application and just more information on who we are. And so with that, we can move on to our next slide here, which will be our Commissioner of College Activities, Christian Mondragon, who I believe I saw in the chat as well. Christian, do you mind saying hi or giving a brief little introduction on yourself here?
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm the Commissioner of College Activities. So my role is to oversee these activities that we plan, and we can also like co-sponsor other events that other clubs on campus propose. I also coordinate and oversee birthday celebrations and oversee the operations of the hospitality booth. And then I also have to maintain a monthly calendar of SGA events so that we can use it in the SGA newsletter.
Yeah, thank you, Christian. And I think you summed up that position and responsibilities pretty well. And if we can go to the next slide here, where we can view our senators of college activities, which would help Christian, planning events, noting birthday calendars, and mainly just keeping a calendar of the SGA and what events we have coming down the pipe is really important in keeping us both responsible and managing our time most effectively within the SGA with the many projects that we undertake throughout one given semester. Having that really adds some clarity to our functioning as a student body. And so if that's something you're interested in, there are 5 open positions. And we can go on to the next slide here. Which is our public relations. At the moment, we have no current Commissioner of Public Relations. And so if that's a position you might be interested in, the responsibilities would mainly be publicizing events through our social media platforms, promoting and advertising any upcoming events, workshops, resources, scholarships, those platform mediums for our students to better engage with and actually understand what we're doing for the student body. And so finding ways to better engage with them, as well as finding new ways, would that be going through speaking with our faculty and finding ways for them to also speak with the students to engage with them, and also going through social media or through our Eagle Info. Also work hand in hand with our college activities team, so working pretty closely with Christian. If there are any interested clubs or students who would like to collaborate in the future, we would like to learn more and try to make that a reality. And so with that, we can move on to the next slide, which will be discussing our Senator Public Relations. And then you will be able to see a QR code where you can find out more information and find out ways to assist with our commissioner here. And so if we could go to the next slide, please. at the moment we do have one senator of public relations, Matt Gallardo, who is unfortunately not on the line at the moment. However, he is the sole person running the public relations committee at the moment. And so if you'd like to help him out and kind of find new ways to engage with the students, or if that's something you might be interested in developing as a skill, this would be a perfect opportunity to do so. And so with that, we can move on to our next slide. Which will be our Commissioner of Financial Affairs, Anthony Brito, who I believe is on the line. Do you mind quickly saying hi and doing a brief introduction on yourself here?
Hi, my name is Anthony Brito. I am the Commissioner of Financial Affairs. I administer and oversee the SGA budget and process and present funding recommendations to the SGA. I advise the SGA legislature concerning SGA finances in accordance with the SGA Finance Code, and I serve as the role of the treasurer for the SGA. Thank you. Here you go.
Sweet. Thank you so much, Anthony. And like you were saying, your main responsibilities include overviewing the budget, making sure that we are following the right processes, and remaining in line with both being transparent and actually understanding the legal codes that come with that as well, and serving as the role of treasurer. And so with that, we can move on to our next slide here, which will be our Senator of Financial Affairs, who I believe we have Gabrielle Abad on the line. Gabrielle, do you mind giving a quick little hello or introduction on yourself?
Right. Hello, my name is Gabrielle Abad. I'm the only senator right now for financial affairs, but basically all I do is help out Anthony with any tasks I need help in, and during FAC meetings, we discuss budget request forms. I also oversee the budget sometimes, and I write down the minutes.
Yeah, thanks so much, Gabrielle. And that is something that you just mentioned right there, the financial request form, which is something fairly new that we implemented this semester in the SGA, where pretty much any student club who is chartered with the SGA has the ability to request funds for any event, catering, conference, any financial need that a club may have. They can request those funds through the SGA with no need to pay us back or return us financially. And really, it serves as a way to help promote the creation of clubs and just help create the sustainability for clubs to keep on running on campus or virtually, and really just alleviate any financial stress that may come with that as well. So yes, you two have been doing some great work. And if we can move to the next slide here, I think Anthony has also prepared a little presentation on the SGA budget, and I'll pass the mic back to Anthony.
Okay, so this part is the SGA budget. So first I asked the question, how is the SGA funded? We have SGA stickers, $7 per student per term. Student can opt out or avoid the fee. Refund available up to second week of class. So we also have the student representation fee, whereby it's $2 per student per term. The students are also able to opt out or avoid the fee, and we refund available up to the second week of classes. So who monitors this fund? There's a lot of checks and balances whereby you have the MSJC accountants, you have the MSJC student life staff, and the SGA, and also the Financial Affairs Committee, which is I and Gabrielle. So that's all in the SGA budget. Can we go to the next slide, please? So far, as of 8/24/2022, SGA has collected approximately 276,000. As of October, we have spent or allocated approximately 131,000 in the following. And as you see in the chart right here, 7% reserves, which is mandatory savings and fluctuates based on revenue, and 8% to the club request funds for the events. That's when you use the form that's facing in the chat. and 31% to swags or giveaway, including shirts, food, meal cards. And also there's the 1% to the other items such as the Robert rules of other books and shelving for the metafiche storage. And also lastly, we have 53% of the funds remaining to be spent. And so the SGA sticker fee, which comprises of all these funds, is a program and activity that's offered by the Student Life Development Program. As determined by the SGA, it goes directly back to the student in form of direct student aid, scholarships, basic needs, emergency support, food, meal cards, school supplies, giveaway swags. As you can see, as I listed in the chat, as I listed recently in the chart right here, those are how the percentage has been allocated. So I'm going to let Gabriel Abad explain how we use the student representation fee.
All right, so the student representation fee is the $2 that you pay for in the beginning of the semester. And as of August 24, 2022, we have collected approximately $122,000. And as of October, we have spent or allocated approximately $7,300, which is the 6% on this pie chart. And the student rep fee is strictly for school-related advocacy only, which is why we have not spent as much, but that 6% right now has gone to conferences such as the CCCSAA.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much for that amazing presentation, both Anthony and Gabrielle, working very hard in the Financial Affairs Committee. And so next up, you can see here that we have the club's activities and ICC calendar, who I will hand it off to our Vice President of the San Jacinto campus, Ashley Freda, to walk us through this a little bit more.
All right, thank you, Diego. So here we have a calendar that details the various clubs that exist on our campus, as well as their respective meeting times. The format might be a bit weird, but it's okay. I'm here to run through that with you and hopefully clarify any confusion. It's formatted by the different days of the week that the clubs meet. So for example, under Monday, you can find that the Poetry Club and the Talon would be meeting during those respective days and times. For Friday, Active Mimes will be meeting and so on and so forth. Another point to highlight is that not all these clubs meet every week, but it's okay. If that's the case, you can find that information right in the club name. If you're still confused, but very much so interested in the club, I'd recommend contacting yourself to clarify for sure when those meetings might be. The links are completely functional, and if you'd like, you can click them to navigate to them, but if not, you can also find this information in the Student Life tab on the MSJC website, specifically in the clubs page. As a result, for those clubs with Zoom and Discord links, feel free to click them to join the meetings on Zoom or get into contact with them over Discord. Otherwise, their physical location should be provided. And again, if there are any other questions about the specifics of the clubs, contacting the club would be my first recommendation. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, VP Freda. And we can move on to the next slide here, which is a brief little look into a week with the SGA and sort of how we operate on a weekly basis. And so with this, I'll hand it off to our Commissioner of College Activities, Christian Mondragon, to also walk us through this weekly overview.
Okay, so we have our legislative meeting every Monday, and then our executive council meeting and the public relations committee meetings are on Tuesday. We have the financial affairs committee meeting on Wednesday, and then ICC meetings and board of trustees on Thursday. Friday, we currently do not have any meetings. So you can find the links to these all on the MSJC website for the Zoom, and then you can attend those meetings if you wish.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Christian, for walking us through that little calendar here. And so with that, we'll move on to the benefits of joining the SGA. And so what are the real perks that come with joining the Student Government Association? And so with that, I'll hand this back to VP Freda to walk us through some of the perks that come included with joining the SGA here.
All right, thank you again, Diego. It's time for our very shameless plug, but trust me, it's one you definitely want to be around to hear. As you can tell during our presentation, there are quite a couple of vacant spots within the SGA that need to be filled. And though just being in the SGA might be cool, you might be wondering what else being in the SGA can do for you. First, SGA is a chance for you to develop strong leadership skills. It offers the chance to work with different kinds of individuals in all sorts of positions, and also attend conferences where you get to learn lots of cool things. SGA opens the door to so many different opportunities, all of them only serving to make you a better leader for tomorrow. Secondly, and this is a pretty nice one, you actually get paid. Every semester, you get paid a specific amount of money for being involved in the SGA. The numbers listed here are per semester, so imagine if you stayed a whole year. If you were a president, that's a whole $2,800 a year. Sorry, Diego, I might have to snipe your position just for that reason. Just kidding, but it is pretty great. Unless. And finally, you get the chance to leave a lasting impact at MSJC. By working on meaningful projects and being involved in decision-making processes, you get to be a part of initiatives that affect your peers and fellow students around you. Some of these may even stay relevant past your time on campus, so just by being around and contributing, it's possible you'll have advocated for students that have yet to even enroll. So why not take the chance to work on something that excites you and help others not only in the present, but the future as well? We're always looking for individuals to join SGA, regardless of how much experience you have. So if anything I said interests you at all, feel free to click that button on the slide, scan one of the many QR codes we showed earlier, or navigate to Student Life on the MSJC website and then Student Government Association. Next slide, please. So now I'll get to talk about participatory governance here at MSJC. And for students that worry too much about time commitment, maybe that's required for SGA, or want to get involved but would like to start with something less heavy, I would highly recommend participatory governance. It's just as important as SGA and another great way to get involved with the campus. Participatory governance is a chance for students to sit on important committee meetings where decisions are often made for the sake of students. These committees regularly meet once a month to talk about important matters, initiatives, and gauge progress on specific projects and goals. Just like the SGA, it's a great way to gain experience working with a variety of different individuals. But specifically here, you'll be working a lot with faculty, administrators, and classified. And also like the SGA, you do get compensated for your time. It allows you to be in spaces where you can facilitate change or provide important perspective, but with a less demanding and more flexible schedule. It's also important to note that even without students, these committees will meet and work on their goals. The more students we have from the get-go, the more informed and helpful these goals might be to students here at MSJC. Student perspective is an important thing, and as a student, you will certainly get a chance to share your unique perspective in these committee meetings. So pick a committee. They all meet at different times, so certainly there might be one that can fit into your schedule. Attend those meetings and provide important student input during these processes. For more information, feel free to click that box down at the bottom of the slide or email sldp@msjc.edu with any inquiries. Thank you.
Thank you so much, VP Freda. And so with that, we'll move on to one of our final slides of the day, which is some follow-up information that'll be presented by Julian Minnie, our student trustee, on a few topics that both he and a few students drafted up that they really wanted some more clarity from our admin and from the panelists here on this call. And so with that, I hand it to Julian Minnie, our student trustee, to ask these questions.
Okay. So the first point has been brought up in the board meetings, and so as the accuracy of the COVID-19 statistics are no longer frequent and accurate, is it still worth the MSJC college still spending time and resources on gathering that data? We understand that the data is slow to come in because of most students doing either hybrid classes or online. So the on-campus presence isn't as large as it used to be, but we would still like to know if it is worth still putting that data out there. And if yes, would there be a way to present more accurate data and more frequently?
So we can jump in if is that what you're asking for right now, is for us to participate? Okay,
yes.
Just wanted to make sure on the protocol. So good afternoon, everybody. My name is Rebecca Teague, and I'm the Interim Vice President of Student Services. Thanks for asking this question. So this was brought to our attention by your student government and your student trustee early on as we were entering into the semester, specifically in August. And we are still collecting that data, and it is a requirement. It is something that we do have to send back to the Public Health Department in Riverside County. And so yes, as is our answer, that we still do in fact collect it, and we do in fact send it off to that entity so that they have that information and can use that for their statistics for the county of Riverside, since we are one of those collection points. What was happening early on is that, as Julian mentioned, the reporting for staff and faculty and administration is separate from those that are reporting for students. And as we're collecting those, then we are putting those numbers together. And on that first report, it was only being reported for staff and faculty because we were still waiting for the data to be finalized and collected. But right now we are working on a better system so that it is combining the totals. And I believe that has been rectified and pushed out through our institutional website. So that information is accurate, what is located on the website, and does reflect all of the individuals that are on campus that have notified us in one way or another that they did in fact test positive for COVID.
Thank you for that. The next question is, if there is an update on when the students at MSJC can see menstrual hygiene products available in more bathrooms. I know that this was a resolution that was passed last year at the SSCCC for it to be mandatory, for it to be available on all campuses for students. However, there have been situations where students have gone into bathrooms in need of these products and they weren't available in those bathrooms. So we just want to know if there will be more bathrooms with the products available and what that timeline will look like.
So thanks for this question again, Julian. We were able to do some research, and it is part of a section in, I believe, Title V or Ed Code. And for those of you, and we can put it into the chat so that you have it at section 66027.7. And it just outlines that our institution as a community college in California is to have no fewer than one designated and accessible central location on each campus, which we are following at this point in time. And I know that you are asking on whether additional restrooms can be seated with additional supplies and materials for the menstrual products. And at this point, we're still reviewing that to determine need and access. One thing we have done, though, so that students who might need those products, is that we have updated all of our maps to reflect the family restrooms, the gender neutral restrooms, and the locations of where those are located, so that at each of our sites, students have access to those supplies. Also, I believe we have our not our food pantry, our basic needs center, but we have hygiene kits available also in those locations at all of our locations, so that students can go into those spots, grab a hygiene kit, and be on their way. So we'll have to follow up, Julian, on whether additional restrooms will have access to those. I'm not sure on the timeline of that, but right now we are meeting the requirement as stated by law.
That's great, thank you. And then the last question is, we know that MSJC was quick to respond to the Fairview fire with emergency funds being released to students and staff that were actually affected by the fire. However, during the board meeting, it was reported that a lot of those applicants were disqualified because they weren't actually affected directly. So we just wanted to know, after the whole process had taken place, how many applicants did actually qualify for those funds?
You want me to jump in on that one, Roger, or do you have it?
Sure, go ahead and I'll follow up if you need me, Joyce.
Hi. Good afternoon, everyone. Joyce Johnson, Vice President for Career Education. And thank you for the question. And yes, while we had many applications, over 900 that did apply for some type of funding, we really directed those funding to those that were directly impacted. And so we had a little over 60 students that were directly impacted that did receive funding through our Basic Needs Center in Eagles Landing with regards to resources.
And the foundation as well, Joyce.
And the foundation as well. Absolutely. It was a great team effort to ensure that our students receive timely the resources that they need.
And to Joyce's point, with well over 900 and a finite amount of resources, we had to do our due diligence because we do not have a never-ending supply of financial and other support services. So we had to ensure that the students that were affected were the ones receiving the aid. Otherwise, we would have depleted all aid for everything else for the rest of the year. And so I think the foundation really went above and beyond, and I think they may have even gone above the budget that was set in order to serve the students that were affected.
Thank you, because that was, doing the math, that is quite a hefty amount of money to be going out. For those 60 students alone, it's about $30,000. So thank you for that.
Well, I guess on behalf of the foundation and the Eagles Landing, you're very welcome. That's our whole purpose for being here. So
there we go. Love to hear it. And so here we can move on to our final slide that's part of our SGA presentation. And so thank you all for so much to listen with us, hear what the SGA has to offer, and really connect with the students here. Here on the bottom, you can see our Instagram, our Discord, and email. You can reach us through any of those mediums. We have student leaders active on all of them. And if you're interested in applying and want to join the team, we are more than happy to have you. We have plenty of spots to fill. And thank you for your time. With that, we can now move on to our Executive Council report from the VP of Student Services, Rebecca Teague. Would you like to start us off here, give a brief introduction, and any reports that you'd like to share with the students here or on the live stream?
Thank you, Diego, and thanks so much for having us. I know EC was really excited to be able to have one of our first town halls with you all this semester. Since we're now already in October and it's nearing, it feels like the end of the finish line for the semester as you're moving into midterms and hitting those holiday breaks. So it's great to see you all. And for anybody virtual, hello, it's good to see you. So really what I wanted to focus on today was just how we are creating community at MSJC. We have so many different opportunities through partnerships with SGA and all of our different affinity groups to really create a community here for anyone. There is something going on almost every day of every week. This week we have our documented Student Week of Action. So today there was a panel, which was fantastic. They were providing information, and they will have other events throughout the week. We kicked off Pride Month with a drag show and different student panels, and still has it going on. I believe there'll be a film screening coming up. And then we finished up our Latinx Heritage Month with a huge kickoff and panelists. So please, I can only encourage you to make the most of your time here at MSJC. Obviously, priority is going to school, keeping up with your work, and working with your instructors, but really try to make the most of the time that you have with us. We are creating just so many wonderful opportunities and events and activities for you to partake, both in a virtual setting or in person. So please just be sure to check out the calendar. Selena Paez-Mendez threw that into the chat, and it's really just a great resource to be able to find your people, right? To find your group, to find your community, to find your home base, because that's absolutely what we want to offer you as part of your time here at MSJC. The other few updates that I wanted to provide you is that we just released our spring schedule. It became available today. It's posted on the website, which means, ooh, it's coming. Definitely take a look at those offerings. I'm sure Dr. Brown will get into just the nuances of our face-to-face versus remote offerings, and we'll get into that a little bit later, but definitely start to peruse and see what you might like to take with us as you're continuing your educational journey with us here at MSJC. I also encourage you all to look at the important dates on our website related to enrollment and registration. So we have just a few modifications to timelines. I believe folks will be able to register for classes the first week of December. I believe it's December 5th. Selena will correct me if I'm wrong, but it is available, and definitely plan out. You'll be receiving your emails to notify you of your registration date, but please pay attention to those. Those are really critical. We saw a huge influx of students this semester, and so I would just encourage you to plan ahead, find the classes that are going to best meet your needs, but whether those are in person or face-to-face, so you can be the most successful that you can be as you're continuing your journey. The other thing I want to throw out is we have so many resources available in our academic support programs and services. Please, please, please check out the Learning Resource Center. We have online tutoring, in-person tutoring. Classes are denoted with embedded tutors or supplemental instruction. Check out information when you're looking at the schedule for low-cost textbooks or no-cost textbook classes. Those are really things that you're going to want to hone in on as you're looking at your schedule for the next semester. But please, we have so many resources here at MSJC that we want to try to make you aware of. First Year Experience program has a bunch of events happening also for those folks that are new to the community college system. There's really not a nook or cranny you can hide in here at MSJC without finding some support and assistance if you need it. So with that, I'd love to turn it over to some of my colleagues in executive cabinet that can give some updates in their neck of the woods. So I think I will start with Dr. Brown.
Thanks, Rebecca, and happy to be here with all of you students today. I am the Vice President of Instruction. I actually began my time at MSJC about 15, 16 years ago as a faculty member in music, and I've been in administration for the last 8 years or so, and really enjoy really having some involvement in making sure that we're offering the right kinds of classes for students and offering what it is that you need and what it is that you're looking for. So as VP Teague alluded to earlier, we have done a ton of work over the past at least 3 years, going through COVID and now transitioning, hopefully further and further out of it, to really identify what classes students are looking for, make sure that we offer the best mix possible of online, fully face-to-face, hybrid, and so on and so forth. This current semester, we offered about 30% on in-person classes, about 70% online. That sounds like a very heavy online presence, and it is. But as we have tried to offer more in-person classes, not as many students come to fill those seats, right? There are fewer students currently looking for in-person classes than online. But we hope to do everything that we can to continue to build an in-person culture and kind of build back that enrollment. So we're taking a close look at our scheduling going into the spring to offer the kinds of schedule that students can kind of piece together what they need, whether they're looking for online or whether they're looking for face-to-face. Most recently, as we've looked at what we've offered in an in-person format, we're finding some gaps in what we had planned to offer that we will make some changes to kind of fulfill those gaps. So for example, you may have a scheduling gap where you're looking for, I'm a student who wants to be totally face-to-face, and I want my math, my English, and say a political science class. We want you to be able to find all those classes on a given campus at times that make sense, right? So it's my hope that you don't have to come to campus for an 8 o'clock class on a Monday and then have to wait until 7 at night for that next class on the same Monday. So we're trying to come as close to that as we possibly can. I know we've heard from a number of students that just had a hard time piecing together schedules. So we're just doing our best to do that. We also hear from students that are concerned that online classes will be going away. They really want the flexibility of online. And so we're making sure to hold on to those options as well. So just a lot of thought being put into that. Going into the spring semester, there are actually some enhancements in our self-service system that will help you to find even better to filter to find what you're looking for. You can already search by location. So if you want to take all your classes at Temecula or all of your classes at San Jacinto, you can filter by that. But what's new, you'll be able to filter by short-term or full-term. We have a lot of short-term classes. Actually, our late start classes are starting today for this semester. And so you'll actually be able to filter by those 8-week classes if that's the way that you want to pursue your education. Our faculty have also done a lot of work over the last few years to, instead of just identifying textbooks that are coming from our textbook companies, they're actually looking for zero-cost textbook options. And a lot of our faculty have adopted these zero-cost materials for students. Starting with this next registration cycle, you'll be able to filter by zero cost. You'll actually be able to just look at those sections that will not cost you in materials fees. So that we look forward to really that being a great enhancement to help students more easily find what they're looking for. So that's really, we're right in the thick of it with kind of schedule design right now, and that's what we're in the middle of for the minute. But great to be here with you all, and always great to dialogue with this group here. Thanks a lot. And all with that, I'll pass it over to our VP of Career Education, Joyce Johnson.
Thanks, Jeremy. Good afternoon again, everyone. And what's happening in the world of career education, I just want you all to be aware that we as a division are here for you, just like my colleagues here have expressed. We're all about ensuring your involvement and what we can do for provide services. So we have a great job developer, Ms. Renisha Hill, who has put out a welcome letter, and she makes herself available to ensure that we're offering those workshops that you all need as you're preparing yourselves for your next step in your career, either that educational journey to transfer or that journey to into the workforce. So she offers an array of workshops with interview skills and resume writing and how to really hone in on those skills as you're going out there for those job interviews. We have lined up coming a variety of job fairs that will be coming and career fairs that will be in concert under Dr. Brown and our Director of Transfer, Dr. Wright. So look out for these great opportunities that we have coming forward, because we also have internships available. And connecting with Ms. Hills give you an opportunity to explore an internship, to work in an area that you are obtaining your education in, and seeing about what it is in that job that is, that is your interest, and hopefully that can lead into some lifelong career for you. The other great thing that we have, some of you may be aware of, and I hope some of you, or at least some of your colleagues out there, your students out there, got the opportunity to attend, which is our makerspace that opening up on the San Jacinto campus. And so we kicked it off under what's called the I3, which is an intervention, inclusive, and innovation grant that MSJC was awarded, giving students the opportunity to take that entrepreneurship mindset that they have and go into a space where they have creativity at their fingertips. And so we are currently offering an 8-week workshop with some phenomenal instructors across all disciplines here at Mount San Jacinto College. And we're offering those workshops on Fridays from 9 to 2. So if you haven't had the chance to check it out at San Jacinto campus, please do so. And it's open to all students. If you want to just drop in and just see what's happening, that's great. If you want to be part of and participate, that's even more awesome. So that's our role of career education. And I think we have Mr. Michael Beckham.
Thank you, Provost and Vice President Johnson. So I don't have a specific presentation here today, but I wanted to be here as a resource in case anybody had questions that I could answer. So with that, I'll pass it on to President Roger Schultz.
Thank you, Mike. And I'm going to be very informal as well. But you know what? Just having you introduce me, Mike, is very appropriate because many of our students probably don't realize that you were an MSJC student not that long ago.
Well, that's true. My affiliation, although it was a long time ago, but my affiliation with MSJC started almost 30 years ago. It was in the spring of '95. I was taking an evening math class while I was a sophomore in high school. And so MSJC has been an important part of my life as a student. And it was in the San Jacinto Library where I actually fell in love with mathematics. And so Mount San Jacinto College is a very special place to me. And I served as an instructor in the math department for nearly 20 years and did some administrative tasks along the way. But yes, MSJC is very important to me. And I sincerely hope to everyone on the call that the college does for you what it's done for me, which has provided me with phenomenal opportunities, both as a student and now as a professional. And I'm very thankful for that. So thank you, Dr. Schultz, for me a chance to share that history. But yes, we're here for you students, and MSJC is a great place, and I hope you already know that. And again, if there's anything we can do to help you along the journey, that's what we're here for. That's what we endeavor to do every day.
And I think that's a fitting example of our purpose for being. It's to educate you and to support you as students. And Mike is not an anomaly. We have several deans and other professionals throughout the organization that were students at MSJC. And it is, through our hiring process, and I know Dr. Brown and Vice President Johnson and I have sat on a lot of hiring committees in the last couple of years. And what's really cool is to see former students loop back through and are actually being hired as faculty. So yes, this is a little bit of a sales pitch that a lot of times people, yes, I know you were a student too, but not here, Dr. Brown.
Oh yeah, I actually took audio classes here.
Yeah, but you were already hired here. That doesn't count.
Well, and we have 5 members of the faculty, Dr. Schultz, who were students of mine here at MSJC in the time that I've taught. And so very proud to see those folks come back through and work with our students and have the opportunity to kind of share that breadth of experience they got both at MSJC and when they transferred. So it's a phenomenal opportunity for students to see the successes of MSJC literally in front of them in the classrooms and in the offices. Absolutely.
Well, and even with Dr. Brown taking those classes here, I'm sure he is a master if you want to go into the recording industry. I actually do own a few of his CDs. That is the truth. But and he's actually got he is sincerely a world-class drummer. I do not want to make light of that, but we have a lot of fun here. But my point is that we are a student-centered organization and have been for a long time. And, think about coming back, giving back to your college community if you so choose. But, if not you, then who? Somebody's going to fill these seats as we start to age out. And we need great faculty and great administrators and great classified professionals. So I know, it was really cool. About 2 months ago, I saw Tyler Mendel, who was part of SGA. Oh, my memory's getting bad, but probably about 6-7 years ago, who was an SGA officer, and he now works in our LRC here in Menifee. So again, great career path. And I think it is exciting to see what we do for students and with students as they come back that they want to give back to the institution. So after that shameless plug, I just want to talk a little bit about the organization and what we're doing in enrollment. And Dr. Brown and his instructional dean team, as well as the student support services team, have put together a schedule that is truly responsive to student needs. If Julian and Diego talk to other colleges and the SGAs, their enrollments are down tremendously. We're approximately right back at pre-COVID levels because we have been scheduling based on student demand. There was a push from the state and other outsiders to really get force students back right now. And we kind of pushed back and said, we will respond to what students want. And as a result, that's the blend that we have currently. We're going to continue to try and do whatever we can to entice you to come back, but we'll have you come back at your pace. We're not going to force that. And it was great. And it's really cool to see Christian Mondragon on here. Had the opportunity to have lunch with him and a couple other students the other day with Pizza with the President. And part of our conversation was, how do we get students back? What are the barriers? And it was really interesting to hear the insights from students about the types of classes they want to have in person, the type of relationship that they want to have with faculty. And so we're taking that into consideration. And this is exceptionally timely, as we have engaged architects and facilities consultants. And just a couple of weeks ago, we had a facilities workshop with architects and trying to look at what does the post-COVID enrollment world look like, and what type of facilities are students going to need? Because we see how many students are on campus, but we know they're not all here taking classes. They're coming in to take advantage of the support services. They're taking advantage of the LRC, the technology, and to be honest, just to find a comfortable place that they're able to learn and you get the support services that they need. And those are the kinds of facilities that we will look at evolving. And to be honest, we may have pretty much most of the buildings we need once we complete all the buildings that we have. It's how do we adapt those to this new learning environment? And I don't know whether it was Diego or who that said it, but getting involved now, yes, you can fight for those issues that are in front of you, but the things that we're doing now was really laid by the foundation of the SGA that helped get Measure AA passed in 2014. And the students were part of that vision and discussion. And so although you may be a little frustrated by running into a construction fence here or there, or maybe having a hard time finding where student services has been relocated during the remodels at SJC, but it's a small price to pay for a future that holds state-of-the-art facilities that are designed around student needs. And we were reminded that we need to plan right now for the future that we want to create for our students, by our facilities consultant saying that it was 10 years ago that we're completing everything that was started then. And as we look to the future, we need to continue to have the dialogue. And that's why it's important to always have communication and input. So enough on that. I know you know that these facilities are under construction for you, and they will be done approximately. Mike, I know I'm going to put you on the spot. We hope to have classes in them spring of 24 for the 2 STEM buildings.
Yeah, so for the San Jacinto STEM building, we're looking at construction completion in the fall of 23, and I distinguish it as construction completion because, of course, just like when you buy a new house, right, you get handed an empty house, and so the same is true for the buildings here. So construction will be completed in fall of 23, so we'll need time to furnish and equip those buildings with a hope that we can get that going for the spring. And then the MVC STEM buildings construction completion is for the spring of 2024. So of course, same thing, we'll need time to furnish and equip those buildings. And of course, supply chains are very tight still. And so that can be another challenge that might push these timelines. And so I just want to be fair with everybody in sharing these projected timelines, that these are assuming that things come in on schedule as expected. But we've seen supply chain challenges in many areas, from structural steel to build the buildings, to the furniture that we need to put into the buildings. And so those are the best projections we have at this time, given that the challenges that are out there, they could be pushed.
Thanks, Mike. And then, of course, our kinesiology and football stadium, that is supposed to be released to us later this spring, with classes probably taking place in the fall of 23, and football and soccer, women's soccer, fall of 23. And I'd like to highlight them. Our women's teams are doing really well in both of their respective leagues, volleyball and soccer. Football just won again, I think their 5th straight in a row. They only lost their opener to the #1 team in the country, RCC, so they are doing very well. And I think I look forward to seeing Saturday Night Lights next fall. So for those of you who are still going to be around, I think next year is going to be a vibrant year on the campus, along with just some great facilities coming online. And I kind of alluded to it, the remodeling that's taking place at the San Jacinto campus for the student services area, very dramatic changes to that campus as we create where I used to have an office with business and human resources focused on student services, where financial aid, counseling, and I think a couple of other offices going in there, and then complete remodels of that in the 1100 building. And then certainly if you've been on to campus, you have seen the new shade structures where we've had some events, and I think we'll be able to take more advantage of that as well. I'm not going to talk about Temecula. It is Temecula. We will be doing a building dedication. Then there's certainly things we need to do to try and bring in Cal State. That's an exciting thing that we're working on. Cal State's currently there, but we're trying to get them up to a scale that will allow students to get a variety of bachelor's degrees and even graduate degrees, so that people really do not have to leave the district, because currently you have to drive to 2 other community college districts to either go to Cal State San Bernardino or San Marcos, 2 of our primary feeders, and UCR as well. I have had discussions with them. So I know it's not a short distance, but it's a lot closer than making that commute all around. And going back to my point, hearing Mike talk about a couple of other issues about advocacy, there are 2 issues regarding safety that are in the works. There's one, but I want to show how the student voice carries. There was a stop sign that was needed at San Jacinto on one of the side streets at Eagle Drive. Being able to work with the students and the faculty, we were able to get the city to put a stop sign in. We don't control the streets around us. So it was very important to get that. And again, having students point the need out for that. More recently, and although it's not done, it is in the works. We had a student trustee probably 4 or 5 years ago that was really advocating for the signal in front of the Menifee campus on Antelope because of just the safety issues. And they continue to paint the red curbs further and further out, but it still did not create a safe environment. And that was the city that was painting those curbs. Again, we don't control the side streets. And through working together collaboratively with the student's voice, we were able to put this forward, work with the city, and we're happy to report that construction should start. I think, Mike, you may have a conversation with the city very soon, but we're expecting completion in early spring of the signal in front of the Menifee campus to provide for greater safety for our students entering and exiting the campus, let alone the people that are driving down the street. So again, it's so important to be able to communicate what students' needs are, because we are able to execute when we work together. And part of that is going to be a shameless plug for Wednesday. As I mentioned it earlier, meeting Christian, but Dr. Brown and I had an opportunity to spend about an hour with students last week, having pizza with the president and executive staff. And it's where we can just sit down and you see us not as the president and vice president, but concerned community members with you, so that we can become educated and see things through the lens of students, so that we can advocate and do things on your behalf. And that is Wednesday at the SJC cafeteria. It's limited seating. I know my team will get upset at me if I don't tell people to try, because if we had an overwhelming run on pizza, that would upset some people because they only have a finite amount. But again, if you're interested, it's a great time. And we will continue this into the spring. Unfortunately, I've got some scheduling issues that take me out for about a month, but we will continue to do town halls into the spring and the pizza with the president. And so with that, I think that gives us a little bit of time to have some open Q&A then.
Exactly. Yes, we have about 25-ish minutes left on the call here. And so for all of the students here, if you could go ahead and use like the raise hand feature on Zoom so we can figure out who to call and who kind of wants a question asked first, we can do it in that manner. Or just type your question in the chat and see if we can get to it in that way as well. And so with that, we can open up the Q&A floor. I believe all of the participants are able to type in the chat and use the React features. So now is the time, students. And thank you all from the executive cabinet for giving very thorough and very insightful reports to the students. as students, it's often difficult to hear all of the things that you guys are doing, as you guys have such busy schedules, and the communication is sometimes missing between the students. And so I think through these town halls and events like this, we can get better insights into what's actually going on at our community college and finding out the ways that students can also be involved. I saw the links for, joining sports, doing internships, and really connecting with the school in those ways as well. So yeah, I'm very proud to see all of the things that you guys are doing. And I think the students are very appreciative as well. Even including that stop sign at the Menifee Valley campus. As a commuter college, you kind of have two main ways to get in, either one that's a stop sign going down La Piedra, or through Antelope, where it's kind of a 50-50 on when you can or can't go, considering some speed limits are pretty high there. But yeah, let's see. Any questions here? Okay, so I believe I either cut out or I'm not hearing any questions. I guess one quick question that I had that I heard from one of the clubs in the past few weeks was regarding the limitations on fundraising. And when a club is chartered through the SGA as a student organization, what becomes their limitations on where their fundraising efforts can go? So for example, I think the club was trying to do a canned food drive, or like a donation drive for a community that's outside of both Riverside County and outside of our student service area. And so if a club would be interested in doing an event like that, what are the limitations and where could those fundraising proceeds necessarily go for our students here? I see, Rebecca, you're shaking your head. I think you might know.
I do. Thanks for bringing that up, Diego, because this is, community service is a huge part of what we are at MSJC, and we encourage our student clubs to get involved and engaged in those efforts to serve communities that are not only in our service area, but those that can be far-reaching within the nation or even internationally. And in those instances where a club is interested in seeking donations or doing some type of fundraising, we always have to start with our foundation, our MSJC Foundation, with our director, Rebecca Orlowski. And that happens very early on so that all the appropriate forms are completed. She has all the information that's needed to be able to assist the club to do so. And if there are any limitations, right, like there may be some other groups that are doing something similar, and so that we want to partner with them rather than doing it all on our own. So we can leverage and partner and create collaboration. So really the first place to start is always the MSJC Foundation whenever we're considering any type of external donations, internal donations, or anything that might be defined as fundraising for any type of event. They are our CO1, oh gosh, I'm going to mess it up, but there's a specific number that they are. They are our foundation support. They're the group that is allowing us to be able to do those types of donations. As a college, we don't necessarily accept that on our own. We have our auxiliary group. 501c3 is what they're called. They are a nonprofit organization off of the college that allows us to do this work. So again, always start with them. And then she will work through her process to be able to either let you know if it's a go, no go.
And just so I could add some perspective to that as well, why that is the case. We had a couple of examples in years past where the foundation was working on securing significant dollars for a campaign, and well, let's just say entity X that has a lot of money, at least perceived. Well, unbeknownst to the foundation, they had laid the groundwork for this ask. Somebody came in, asked for some small amounts, and a couple other groups went back. And this organization got hit like 2 or 3 times for these smaller amounts. And then they were questioning, why are we giving to you now this larger amount when we seem to be meeting the needs of this smaller amount. So it really creates a competition amongst ourselves when we are trying to do the exact same thing, but the scale of the foundation can be much larger. So it's not to try and control from a standpoint for the sake of control. It's more so that we cannot irritate donors in a way that robs from the greater good that we could have impacted hundreds of students as opposed to, say, 2 groups of 10 or 20 students. I hope that makes sense.
I think it does. Yes. Thank you so much, both Rebecca Teague and Dr. Schultz here for giving some clarifications here. I do see a student question here in the chat that was asking, as far as working on having bachelor's and master's available in the future, will those be limited to certain professions and or careers?
Can you restate the question, please, Diego? I want to make sure I fully heard it.
Yes, looking at the question here, I believe it's asking, so working on having bachelor's and master's available in the future, will those be limited to certain professions and careers? I believe is in reference to what you were talking about for the Temecula Valley campus and partnering with CSU San Marcos and offering those upper division or like bachelor's level courses, and like what those specialty courses might be offered in, like what fields.
Correct. So that is what CSU has done their research. So what we're hearing is they're trying to offer the programs that have the most appeal to students in our region. And I'm not at the table with the specifics. I know Dr. Brown has had conversations, psychology, teacher prep, criminology, business. I know they're also offering an engineering and computer science engineering, I believe, Jeremy, soon.
Yes, yeah.
So it's not their full curriculum, but it is what has been identified in our region that will have sufficient interest to offer classes. They don't want to come down here and offer a program that just fails. And so I know, for example, they've got the nursing program that is overwhelmingly successful down here, and that's something they would like to continue. They're looking at trying to raise funds to build a nursing lab. So if you look at those ones that lead to high wage, high demand jobs, similar to what Joyce Johnson has identified with her programs, but it's based on market data, and I can't speak for them, but those are the ones that we're aware of as of right now.
Okay, and while we wait for more questions to pop here in the chat, I did have another question regarding the OER or open resource education and sort of the updates to self-service that'll be coming in the spring semester. I know that you guys mentioned there's like a new revamp coming through. Is there like a set percentage like increase for these OER resources or low cost courses that are set to be coming in the spring? Like, is there a set number of courses offered that you guys are looking for to meet those goals? Or is it tailoring to the student needs and adapting as the spring registration period goes on?
So I would say that the short answer to your question, Diego, is between fall and spring, there probably won't be a large increase between these semesters. The increases would happen more on the, going into a new fall semester. Because as you can imagine, faculty are having to adopt and design some of these resources. So they often do that work over the course of a year and then adopt in the fall. We have a group of faculty folks that have been working to attract more faculty to expand the use of OER. And they really do target courses that are really most common to students. So in the first round, they were really reaching out most specifically to areas like English and math, where we're offering, large amounts of sections, and that can impact a large number of students. So they definitely take that into account. But what I don't have is a specific number of increase that we're working toward. Essentially, it's a grassroots effort that the faculty have done working faculty to faculty and sharing resources. And so, the hope is that that continues to grow as we move forward.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And as we continue this Q&A session for any students who'll be popping in, reminder that you can either use the raised hand feature on Zoom or you can type your question in the chat here. We are coming up close to like the last 10-ish minutes left here. And I believe there's one of the last few questions from Ashley Freda, who posted in the chat. I was wondering about if there were any intention in fixing some of the vending machines on the SJ campus, and if not, will anything happen to them?
Ashley, thanks so much for bringing that to our attention. We only know when they're not working if somebody brings it up. So we will be sure to carry this forward into our executive cabinet meeting so that we can have a conversation with our administrative services and see if we can identify which vending machines are not working properly and to contact the vendor to see if they can come out and fix those, since those aren't our machines necessarily. We do want to make sure that you all have access to the goodies that are inside of them. So we will definitely follow up. And if you want, you're more than welcome to send us just a side chat on what location specifically at the San Jacinto campus, so that, Mike Beckham isn't having to go out there with quarters and raid every single vending machine and see what's working and what's not working. So we'll definitely get on that, Ashley.
Yeah, I like to raid them best when they're working, but yes, if you could send that to us, Ashley, we'd appreciate it.
And I may have totally dated myself in saying that they have coins. There's credit cards now that you zip in and zip out. So that was the old school days when we had to carry change.
Oh my goodness, yes, how fast technology comes to advance now. They just use the smartphones, tap it on there, and they got their Scantrons, or they have some Frito-Lays for their class. Okay, and so doing one final call here for the questions. We have 10 minutes left. If I see none, then I guess we can call it a little bit early. I know that we all are very busy. We could appreciate a little 10-minute stretch break with all these virtual meetings and the eye strain that comes from being on the computers all day. Okay, I mean, seeing no more questions here in the chat, I just want to confirm real quick with Suzanne or whoever is doing the live stream that there are no questions in the live stream chat room as well.
No, Diego, no questions.
Nope. Okay. And so with that, I'd like to thank you all for your time today, to engaging with the students and trying to make MSJC a better institution with hearing the student voice and having these conversations. So with that, I thank you all for your time, and I look forward to having more of these discussions in the spring as well. So bye. Thank you everybody for coming today.